Hi, welcome to Human-Computer Interaction, ITC504. I'm Peter White and I'm your lecturer for this session. This is an interesting subject. We're going to look at the design of user interfaces with a particular emphasis on the graphic user interface. And so we'll cover a number of topics in the subject. We'll look at what comprises, what are the components that come into HCI. We'll look at how do we capture and understand user requirements for a design. We'll look at how do we research designs around HCI. We'll start to try and figure out and understand the cognitive framework of interaction. How do people actually interact with an interface? We'll look at principles of design. We'll look at evaluation of design and usability testing, and then we'll look at how we analyze those results and then feed them back into our design to make it worthwhile and work. Now, excuse me, I'm an adjunct lecturer, which means I'm not at the university full time. So the best way to contact me always is by email, pewhite@csu.edu.au. Please put ITC504 in the subject line. There's two reasons. One, I teach more than one subject at a time, and it really helps to know which subject you're coming from. And secondly, I've got a pretty aggressive spam filter. And without a subject number in there, you could end up in the nether regions of my inbox. Also, you can also put things on the ITC504 Interact discussion board, and I look at that on a fairly regular basis. So Interact is our main source for resources. So there you'll find the topics, our study guide, the subject outline, which will give you lots of essential information such as schedule assessments. You'll find the various different readings. You'll see the tool there to allow you to join the online meetings. There'll be articles, and there'll also be a discussion board. The topics are broken up into weekly study topics, and so you'll have a series of readings, possibly some tutorial, although normally we'll do those as part of the online session. Some videos to look at, some activities, some reading research requirements. We'll have an online session every Tuesday evening commencing at 7 p.m. Now these sessions will be recorded because, as I know, most of you are working and it's not always possible to make every single session. So the session recording, which will be done in MP4 format, will be available from the resources folder in Interact around about half an hour to 3/4 an hour after the session is finished. We'll have 5 assessments in the subject. We'll start with a design concept, an initial design, peer review and usability evaluation, a working prototype, and a final reflection. There is no exam in the subject, okay? So it'll all be taken up with these assignments. If you want to request an extension for any one of the assignments, you must apply for it beforehand. It's no good doing it on the due date or after the due date. You've got to do it before the due date, okay? So assignment 1. You'll be given a case study, and you'll need to look at creating 2 different designs to meet the requirements in this case study. So you need to have a look, read the case study, read the requirements, read the presentation, the marking criteria. It's all fairly specific. So 2 different designs. Assignment 2 means you will take one of those 2 designs that you've come up with and say, this is the one I think is better, this is the more promising design, and then you'll start to develop it. And that will become the design that you work through for the rest of the session. Again, make sure you read the requirements, the presentation, the marking criteria on this. Assignment 3 is a peer review and usability evaluation. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get somebody else's assignment 2, and you're going to do a review of it. You're going to assess the design from a principal's point of view and recommend changes to enhance it. You're also going to do a usability review, the evaluation on the design, and then you're going to not only find the usability issues that the design might have, but you're going to have to recommend how to fix them. And then that will be given back to the student whose assignment it is. The same, and you'll have yours done as well. So it means that, you know, this is a chance for us all to learn from each other. And so you've got to be really look hard and well at this other student's design and their usability evaluation, and be fair and honest about what you're doing, because they're going to be, somebody else will be doing the same thing to you. So be fair to each other. Again, make sure you read the requirements, the presentation, and the marking criteria, because these are all fairly essential. Assignment 4 is your major assignment. 40% of your marks come from here. And what you do is you're producing a final working prototype, and we'll talk to that. That prototype is going to include all of the recommended changes. So the design principle changes, the usability evaluation changes have to be incorporated into here. And you're going to have to talk about in the documentation that accompanies this design, where you put it in, how you did it, why you did it that way, and so on. So again, we'll talk to that as we get closer to that particular design. But again, make sure you read the requirements, the presentation, and the criteria for it. The final paper is a reflection. This is where you write a paper that discusses your design. So you could say, you know, a company or a magazine has come to you and said, you know, you've produced a great design for this particular thing. Why did you do it? How did you do it this way? You know, tell people so that other people can learn from it. So what you're going to talk about is how your design meets user requirements and enhances their experience. What factors influence their design and why? Interfaces you've seen that gave you ideas or elements that you then used and why you took those or built on them. And then the reasoning behind your design and why you think this is the best possible solution to the problem. The beaut part about this is that it sounds pretty corny, but it actually forces you to think about what you've done and why you're doing it. And you can really learn quite a lot from that. So there's your assignments. It's, as I said, no exam, 5 assignments. It's a fairly good bit of work there, and you will be doing some good, really interesting stuff. If you've got any questions, please contact me, pewhite@csu.edu.au, or put your questions up on the discussion board, and we'll talk to you all shortly. See you soon.